Hello, good evening. Wednesday evening. Welcome to North West Tonight. I'm Roger Johnson. Thank you for joining us. Our top story this evening. Greater Manchester's clean air zone could be ditched. The Mayor says that pollution can be cut without making drivers pay. The government, though, still has to sign off the new plans. Also tonight, John Venables, one of the killers of toddler James Bulger, won't be released from prison. The parole board says he's still a danger to children. It was once a des res, 3,000 years ago. We'll go inside the Cumbria cave where a Stone Age families once lived. It's now up for sale. It's panto season. Oh, yes, it is. And Jason Manford is spending Christmas climbing a beanstalk in his own...
I wouldn't do it anywhere else, you know.
Would you do?
No, not at all. No, I can be here, I can be at home. Yeah, it's a real privilege to be part of people's Christmas.
And a beautiful end to the day today. But what's in store over the next few days? I'll have all the details later in the programme.
Plans for a clean air zone where some vehicles would be charged to drive around Greater Manchester have been scrapped, subject to government approval. The councils in the area say that they can still bring pollution levels down by putting money into other green transport measures. But it's been criticised by campaigners who say that more still needs to be done to protect children from harmful emissions. Let's go live to our transport correspondent, Judy Hobson. She's beside one of the busiest roads into Manchester, live for us tonight.
Yes, well, these clean air zone signs that you can probably see behind me were, of course, controversial from the start. The idea was to charge the most polluting commercial vehicles. But this was on the back of the pandemic and there were concerns about local businesses. So the scheme was paused, but crucially, the government gave Greater Manchester 2 extra years to sort it out. Now, in that time, pollution levels have come down because new cars are cleaner. So now the local authorities say there doesn't need to be a charging zone. But green campaigners say that's not the way to look at it. This is about our health. Pollution levels should come down as much as possible, as soon as possible, and they should be well below current government guidelines.
What a difference a couple of years make. The original Clean Air Plan involved charging drivers of the most polluting commercial vehicles.
And the HGV drivers got only a couple of months to convert.
It was controversial, then deemed unworkable, and eventually it was paused. The updated plan involves no charging at all.
The new plan is an investment-led approach to cleaning up the air in Greater Manchester. It's because we said to the government, let us first introduce the B network. Let's bring that through. That gives us the opportunity to do this in a completely different way.
Greater Manchester is taking back control of its buses under the B network. The fleet's becoming cleaner, improving air quality. Local authorities are also asking for grants to help clean up taxis and to control traffic flows on certain roads. All this, they say, will bring air quality to within legal levels by 2025.
Not only can we achieve all of that, but we can actually do it quicker than a charging zone would be. So we clean the air, we do the right thing, but we also do it in the right way by helping people change, supporting them to change without a charge.
As well as in London, clean air charging zones have been introduced in Bath, Birmingham, Bradford, Bristol, Portsmouth, Sheffield and on Tyneside. But there's been a lot of opposition. Just last week, a traffic camera was blown up in London. Greater Manchester, however, believes it can do things differently.
I'm saying to the government today, look, after all we've been through on this, just back this plan now. Back this plan now and let us get on with that investment-led approach in 2024. Take the signs down, let people know where they stand.
But not everyone is happy. Green groups say all this dithering and delay has left Manchester with some of the dirtiest air in the country. And this latest clean air plan doesn't go far enough.
We're really quite disappointed with the announcement today, and we really feel like it lacks ambition. To only be aiming to be compliant with the UK legal levels is frankly just not good enough. We should be aiming to be compliant with the World Health Organization levels.
If the plan gets the go-ahead, then these signs will be taken down. But the controversy over how to clean up Greater Manchester's air is likely to continue.
So the government has the final say, but don't forget, these plans were first submitted in July last year, and ministers sent them back, saying they weren't convinced it would work. They wanted more data, and that's what was being discussed today. So the big question is, will the government let Greater Manchester get away with not having a charging zone when so many other areas of the country have had to implement them?
Judy Hobson there. Now, John Venables, one of James Bulger's killers, has had his request for parole turned down today. The parole board says that it still thinks he's a danger to children. Venables and Robert Thompson murdered toddler James in Bootle in 1993 when they were both 10 years old. Let's talk to Sam Nanda. She's in the newsroom. What more do we know about the decision, Sam?
Well, the parole hearing last month was held behind closed doors, and that's because there's a long-standing legal order to protect the identities of Thompson and Venables, who were just 10 when they abducted and murdered James Bulger. In 2001, after serving 8 years, they were both released on licence and given new identities. Venables, who's now 41, refused to give evidence in person at this latest parole hearing. And we understand this is because permission had been granted for a family representative to listen to the proceedings. And according to the parole papers, Venables wasn't comfortable discussing some aspects of the case in front of them. Parole officers have ruled that Venables remains a danger to children, and his release at this point would not be safe for the public. Since being released in 2001, he's been returned to prison twice after indecent images of children were found on his computer. He's been in prison this time since 2017. And according to a summary of the latest decision, Venables accepted he had a long-term sexual interest in children, despite taking part in a considerable amount of work in prison to address this risk. Now, Denise Fergus, James's mother, has thanked the parole board for this decision, and she said that the prospect of him coming out was terrifying, as they knew he'd harm again. Now, Venables will be eligible for another parole review in around 2 years' time.
Sam, thank you. Sam Nanda there. Now, commissioners who are overseeing Liverpool City Council are to hand back some powers to the authority earlier than planned after positive change by council leaders. Government officials have been overseeing the council since 2021, when inspectors called parts of it dysfunctional. The commissioner's latest report recommends handing back control of finances and highways and transport, but it says that the property department remains of acute concern. A farming company has admitted failures after a teacher on holiday was killed by a runaway cow. 61-year-old Marion Clode from Ashton-under-Lyne in Greater Manchester was charged at and tossed over a gate as she walked along a path in Northumberland in 2016. J.M. Nixon and Son, which owns the farm, initially denied any offending. Now, a boy who is accused of the sustained and vicious stabbing of teenager Brianna Jai admitted that his hunting knife was used to kill her, but claimed that his co-accused had carried out the murder. Brianna, who was 16, was attacked in a park at Culcheth near Warrington in February. The boy told a jury at Manchester Crown Court today that he wasn't involved in the killing. Yunus Muller sent this.
Boy Y began his evidence by typing on a keyboard sat on a desk in a room next to the court, with his answers spoken by an intermediary. And that's because jurors have been told that since his arrest, he's gradually stopped speaking to anyone apart from his mother, and he's been diagnosed with selective mutism and autism. Boy Y told the court that he'd taken his hunting knife to Culcheth Linear Park. He showed it to girl X, who had a plan to kill Brianna Jai, but it wasn't his plan. He said that he didn't think that his co-defendant would seriously harm anyone. He also told the court he had no animosity towards Brianna, who was transgender. Now, the court has already been told by girl X that she'd walked a short distance away when she saw boy Y stab Brianna. Today, he said that he was behind a tree relieving himself when he said he heard the sound of rustling, a thud and a punching sound. He was asked by Richard Littler Casey, "Did you look to see what the sound might be?" After I had finished going to the toilet, he asked, "What did you see?" "I saw girl X stabbing Brianna Jai." Was Brianna standing up at this stage? "She was on the floor," he said. Boy Y said there was blood everywhere around the victim. He got some blood on his hands because he said he touched her to see what had happened. He then told the court that girl X said they should run, and he followed her. He then asked her what had happened. He said girl X replied to him, "Girl X told me to use my saliva to wipe the blood off my hands, as she was doing the same for her face. I had also asked her why she had stabbed Brianna Jai, and she responded, she tried to get me to break up with my boyfriend, and that is unforgivable." He said after the attack, he took the knife off girl X because it was his, and he was sentimentally attached to it. Now, both defendants deny murder and blame each other. Under cross-examination, he was asked, why did you lie to the police that his knife hadn't been used? He said he was scared of being told off by the police. The trial here continues.
That was Eunice Muller reporting. Now, the Mersey is to get a new ferry. The Metro Mayor, Steve Rotherham, today signed a contract with the Wirral shipbuilders Camel Laird to build the new first Mersey ferry for 60 years. It'll cost £26 million. Originally, much of the vessel was going to be built in the Netherlands, but that deal's been scrapped and it will now be entirely built on the river. Here's our Merseyside reporter, Andy Gill.
The Mersey ferry Snowdrop leaves Liverpool this afternoon and heads across to Wirral, a crossing that dates back 800 years when monks ran the first ferries. The current fleet's not quite that old, but there hasn't been a new ferry for 60 years.
Unfortunately, our ferries are as old as me and they're starting to fall apart, and it's more and more cost with more and more maintenance. So we need a new one, but we're going to refurbish one of the old ones in the interim until we can afford another new ferry, because we need two to cross the River Mersey.
Today, Mayor Rotherham was at the Camel Laird shipyard in Birkenhead to sign a contract to build a new ferry. It'll help secure jobs here. Laird's got the job after a long tendering process which was disrupted by the pandemic. At one stage, it looked as though some work might go to Holland. But today's announcement says the ship will be constructed entirely at the firm's Birkenhead shipyard. Laird's built their first Mersey ferry back in 1836. They've constructed 15 of them in total. The shipyard also maintains the current fleet, but there's something significant about building a brand new Mersey ferry from scratch.
At your service might well be the slogan of the ferry boats on the Mersey.
The ferries aren't just part of the fabric of Merseyside, they're part of its soul, from the first crossing by monks more than 8 centuries ago to their place in popular music and art. These days, the ferries have to be subsidised by money raised from elsewhere, Mersey tunnel tolls, for example, and by tourism. The new ferry will reflect that.
It'll look similar to what we've currently got, but where the funnel is, that won't go right the way through the vessel. And that means that there's space downstairs to open that up, and then we can use that for other reasons. So you could have potentially meetings there, you could have musical events there.
The replacement for this vessel will also be able to adapt to greener fuels. It's expected to enter service in a couple of years. Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
Right, from a new ferry to a rather old home that's just gone onto the market in Cumbria. It is, though, spacious, it's got real history and it has plenty of land, and it could be yours for around £100,000. It sounds like a bargain. Well, maybe not, because it has been uninhabited for thousands of years and it doesn't have very much light, and that's because it's a cave. Kirkhead Caves and Woodland in Lower Allithwaite near Grange-over-Sands is on the market. It's one of only 3 old Stone Age or Paleolithic caves in Cumbria, as Stuart Pollitt reports.
This property boasts spectacular views, plenty of history. Although, as our camera operator discovered, access is tricky.
Whoa, you all right?
Yeah. Well, my late father bought this property, along with all of Blencote Farm, in 1991, and we've lived here ever since.
It was only after they bought the site that James's family became aware of the extent of the caves.
It was, yeah, it was quite exciting, yeah.
It was a bit like having your own famous 5 style location.
Yeah, we brought friends here and had lots of fun here, yeah.
It's still quite a challenge to reach down to the entrance of the main cave, but back in the early 90s, hardy and hardcore partygoers used to meet up here each weekend for illegal raves known as the Rave in the Cave, and there's still a little bit of evidence of those days. There was a few parties here back in the day. Were you responsible for that?
No, that was a little before my time, and I can't imagine my father being much of a raver.
This is another of the 3 caves on the site. It was discovered by Professor Salisbury in the late 1990s, and he used to bring teams of presumably quite small students from Lancaster University to come and excavate the cave.
Several artefacts were found, including human remains, which just adds to the mystery of it all.
The archaeologists also uncovered pottery and some of the oldest evidence for human activity in the northwest.
What makes this really unique is obviously the caves here, one of only a few Paleolithic caves in Cumbria.
It's not like you go in, right, 3 bedrooms, conservatory, little back garden. How do you value something like this?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously where you've got something really unusual and unique, you know, there's always an element of, you know, the unknown in terms of value. There is really strong archaeological interest, but it will be attractive to people for sort of leisure and recreation. As you say, just somewhere to come with the family, enjoy being outdoors.
James is hoping that whether the buyer prefers raves or remains, they'll care for this precious piece of history. Stuart Pollitt, BBC North West Tonight, near Grange-over-Sands.
Now to the golden couple of cycling. Laura and Jason Kenny have won a dozen Olympic gold medals, no less, between them. And with next year's Paris Games getting ever closer, they've been speaking to the BBC. The couple, who live in Knutsford in Cheshire, welcomed their second child in July. And Laura told Rachel Burden about the pressure she faces to qualify for Team GB, while at the same time balancing family life.
The nice grand picture that everyone wants to paint is Laura's going for the Olympics. And when I read it, I sort of did read it a bit terrified. I was like, oh my God, I hope people aren't expecting me to actually make it to Paris. Because obviously it is such an ask. For me, it's always been to race again. I just want to race again.
Everyone, I'm sure, will invest in the kind of fairy tale, but actually it's not to do with everyone else. It's just to do with you and how you feel and
I think I realised that when we lost, when we had the miscarriage and the ectopic, I knew deep down that it would be one hell of a comeback to come back, obviously delaying it, because I just still wanted to have another baby. And I knew that time would be short before the next Olympics. And it wasn't about this big fairy tale. It was about what my heart so desperately wanted. And it was to have him. Like, I just wanted another one. Like, it consumed me, didn't it, really, for a long time.
There's never a dull moment in our house. And obviously with the job as well now, which is full-time, although it doesn't have the physical demands of being an athlete, it has the time. It's longer time because I've obviously got to get there before training starts, and I can't leave till it finishes. After it finishes, there's not enough hours in the day sometimes with the 2 kids, and obviously we have a few animals and stuff at home as well. So we're like, yeah, it's flat out every day. But I really enjoy it. I think we're really lucky to have the lifestyle that we do.
Do you find other sportswomen come to you and talk about things like having a family, how to manage it, getting pregnant? Because when you're competing at elite level, you put your body through so much. It's not always the easiest environment, is it, to get pregnant?
There are females that have struggled and will struggle to get pregnant because of the lifestyle of being an athlete. Because we've all heard of Red S, like Red S being obviously females losing their periods. Well, you're not going to be able to fall pregnant if you haven't got a period.
That's a major issue, isn't it?
Like, Red S is actually really dangerous. Like, obviously you don't have a period, and these females are giving up lots of things that really deep down that they want. Like, there are so many athletes that I hear saying, oh, they want to start a family. Well, if you don't have a period, you can't start a family. And it's actually a really unhealthy way of training as well.
Who is the most patient day to day?
Oh, me, with the kids. Definitely me, yes. You have no patience.
In what context is the patience being
I mean,
applied?
Jace, you literally forget everything 24/7, and then if he's no, but then when I'm like, right, just shovel this in the bag, you're just like, leave. We need to leave now. Get in the car, Albie. I mean, literally this morning you were like, just get in the front, Albie. Pick your feet up. Was actually what you said.
I did say pick your feet up.
No, it is definitely me.
Safe to say it's definitely Laura for sure. Some cricket news. Lancashire have appointed the former South African all-rounder Dale Benkenstein as the club's new head coach. He's been in charge at Gloucestershire for the last 2 seasons, was briefly batting coach at Lancashire. Best of luck to Dale and to Stockport County, taking an older shot in FA Cup second round replay, could face West Brom. Yeah. Manchester City still 1-up, Roger, against Red Star.
They are. All right, Richard, thank you very much. Right, we've got the weather with Causa in just a minute, but before that, we're off to the Panto. Manchester comedian Jason Manford is back in his hometown this year. He's doing Panto again. It's Jack and the Beanstalk he's starring in at the Opera House, and we sent our very own Widow Twanky to have a chat to him.
Fee! Fi! Form! Panto season's back, and at Manchester's Opera House is a giant of a production.
Starring me, Jason Manford. People come already in a good mood, so it's not like you're worried because you think, oh, they're not going to enjoy it, because they've come to enjoy it. You're not trying to convince them that it's going to be great. It is great.
In terms of Panto, you've not got a massive long history.
No, last year. And it was going to be my farewell debut as well. I was just going to do 1 year of it, but I just loved it so much. Like, if you think with 2,000 people a night, 2 shows a day for 4 weeks, you know, the amount of people who are coming to see it, all through the year, people are like, oh, we saw you in the Panto, Jace, yeah, it was good.
And just being in your home city.
And being in Manchester. I wouldn't do it anywhere else, you know.
Would you do?
No, not at all. No, I can be here, I can be at home, and it's my crowd, you know what I mean? Someone on the front row's from Marple, I can take the mickey. If someone's from Salford, I can take the, you know, I know the places.
It really impacts on your life.
I must say it's a different sort of Christmas. Yeah. It's not as relaxing as it usually is. But my daughters are actually in my dressing room now. They've come to decorate it. It's a Christmas decorate my room, so that we all came down after school. So at least I feel a bit of home from home.
Alongside Jason is comedian, impressionist and Britain's Got Talent finalist Ben Nicholas from Rochdale.
I remember seeing my first pantomime in 1986, I think it was, and it was Jack and the Beanstalk in Manchester with Russ Abbott, and I loved it. Jack and the Beanstalk hasn't been back in Manchester since, so to tell that little boy watching that pantomime, you're going to be in it the next time it's in Manchester. It's my 5th year as well here, so it's just an absolute pleasure.
Tell me some of the people you do impressions of in the show. Kevin Webster.
Hey, Sharpie, Rosie, I'm in garage doing them all trees every day.
Cracking cheese, grommets, he's there. Homie, where are you? It's beer doing it, so there's loads.
And you're on North West tonight.
I am, Mum.
Outside the Opera House, Panto fans were arriving.
Really excited. Every year I come, so yeah, it's a bit of fun in it, family fun.
Yeah. And Panto season means Christmas is here now, doesn't it?
Oh no, it doesn't.
I saw what you did there.
We live in Mallorca, so we've come back and
now
we're
come
gonna.
Back just for this.
For a Panto?
Yeah.
For Panto, yeah, because don't get it in Mallorca.
You do feel the buzz. People outside, they're going to be feeling like Christmas starts here, aren't they?
Well, that's what's amazing about it. You know, a lot of the jokes are the same jokes your granddad listened to when he was a boy. You know, a lot of the routines and stuff, the stories, of course. And you modernise it and you bring something different to it by booking different people. But yeah, it's a real privilege to be part of people's Christmas.
The pantomime runs until New Year's Eve. Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight.
Being out-pantoed by the lady from Mallorca there, that was fantastic. Before you tell me, I know Widow Twanky's Aladdin, not Jack and the Beanstalk. On Monday, we spoke to Frank Rothwell, I don't know if you remember it, about rowing across the Atlantic. It's his latest challenge. He's the 73-year-old chairman of Oldham Athletic. He set off on his 3,000-mile trip this morning, raising money for Alzheimer's research. He left the Canaries. He's heading to Antigua. Second time he's taken on the challenge. He's already the oldest person to row the Atlantic on his own. He's raised more than £1 million first time. He's going to try and do the same again, and he's 15 miles into it tonight, looking at the live tracker. How's the weather for Frank? What's Frank's forecast? Look at that.
I actually have a special forecast just for Frank. He's a brave man, isn't he?
He is, Causa, he is.
Well, the good news is it starts off largely dry. You can just about see the Canary Islands here, and there's an easterly breeze. That should help Frank along for the first couple of days anyway. And there is an area of low pressure in the mid-Atlantic, but depending on Frank's schedule, itinerary, how soon he gets there, there is a potential of some unsettled weather for him. But for us, well, back to the northwest, it was largely dry today, wasn't it? We had 1 or 2 showers around, and you can see there is some clouds, some rain just waiting in the wings in the northwest. Now, this will arrive in overnight tonight. It's a series of weather fronts. A warm front initially, that will bring some clouds, some rain, then a cold front that will bring some clearer weather following it. But we had a beautiful end to the day today. This lovely picture, sent in from one of our weather watchers in Blackpool of the sunset. And look at this sky in Oldham. This sent in from one of our weather watchers as well. So some stunning pictures to end the day. And for this evening too, there's a lot of dry weather and clear sky. But it is not to last, because you saw those fronts. They'll be heading our way, bringing more in the way of cloud and some outbreaks of rain overnight. Maybe some winteriness up over the hills as well. And temperatures quite widely dipping below freezing, so it will be chilly tonight as well. So it means for tomorrow morning and for the morning commute, largely cloudy, some outbreaks of rain, but that will tend to clear, and then we're left with drier weather into the afternoon. And there should be some spells of sunshine around as well, lots of brightness, but mild temperatures 9 to 10 Celsius. And for tomorrow evening too, it should be largely dry again. There may be some mist and fog forming though overnight tomorrow night. So it means for the start of Friday, largely dry conditions, but maybe some mist and fog clearing. And then there should be some sunny spells as well. But during the day, more in the way of cloud arriving in, and there is an increasing chance of 1 or 2 showers into the afternoon, but it will be mild. Look, temperatures well above average for the time of year, highs of 10 to 12 Celsius. And as we look ahead, well, you can see for the weekend too, it's not looking too bad. There will be some good spells of sunshine for a time, maybe the chance of some showers, but temperatures stay up in around 10, 12 Celsius. And it looks quite unsettled still for next week as well. And that's your forecast.
Thanks very much, Causa. So not too bad for Frank. He's quite good on the weather, I think. And he says it's quite...
He knows his stuff.
He does know his stuff. He's quite a decent yachtsman.
He really is, isn't
yeah.
He's so brave, though. I would never be able to do something like that.
Yeah, oh, gosh, no. We'll keep you posted on how Frank gets on, of course. He reckons it'll take about 7 weeks, so fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Thanks for watching. Have a great night.
See you, bye.